Well, welcome back to Essentials. This is week 6 for y'all, and we're going to be in Daniel chapter 10 this week. And I'm excited to hear kind of about what Colin has prepared for us today in terms of picking apart this chapter and sort of making it alive to us in a new way. So where could you just give us sort of the context of where Daniel 10 falls in the larger story of exile and return, this topic we're dealing with in this session?
Yeah, so Daniel 10 happens very late in the exile. At this point, Daniel is an old man. He is still in Babylon, and Babylon has been captured and conquered by the Persian Empire. So the Persians are now in control. And so by this time, under leaders like Cyrus and Darius, the Jews have been invited to return back to Jerusalem. So restoration is beginning to happen. And so really this chapter is kind of a pivot point. The exile is ending, restoration is beginning. And we find here Daniel as an old man mourning by the banks of the Tigris River.
Well, that's sort of strange. Why is he mourning if the return from exile, this thing he's been hoping for decades, is finally starting to take place?
I mean, it's a great question. You would think he might be celebrating.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why he mourns is because he cares for his people. And even though the restoration has begun, it is far from finished. He knows that Jerusalem is still in ruins. The walls are not built. The temple is still destroyed. So it is still a time of suffering for his people, even though he sees God's promises beginning to unfold. And I think it's a good reminder for us that, when we begin to see God acting in our lives, it doesn't suddenly make faith easy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We can still mourn the present, even though we trust in God's future and trust that he is working to bring about his end and purposes in a situation.
Sure. It's not like they're going back to the Jerusalem that they left. They're going back to a pile of rubble.
Right. Restoration and healing, reconciliation, it's a process. It takes time.
Yeah. So Daniel is praying by the river and mourning, and then this messenger comes to him, and a prophecy is given to him from this messenger. But before the messenger gives this message, he has to strengthen Daniel. Can you talk a little bit about that order of operations?
This is a fascinating part of the chapter. The messenger comes. He's obviously a heavenly messenger. Right. He's a man clothed in linen. That's how he's described. And when this vision occurs, we're told that Daniel kind of collapses. He loses all strength. He's unable to speak. And this messenger must touch him more than once to give him strength. And before any words of prophecy or vision are spoken to Daniel, Daniel is given these words. He's told, "You are greatly beloved. Do not fear. Peace be with you. Be strong." And so why are these words given? Well, because Daniel needs them. He needs reassurance. He needs to know that God's presence is with him. He needs this strength to receive the vision. And so before God shares this prophecy, he shares these words of grace. Daniel's going to hear about conflict, suffering, struggle, but he's going to hear it now as someone who is beloved.
Well, you sort of alluded to it a little bit, but can you get into sort of the prophecy that is given to Daniel? What's revealed to him by this messenger about what's to come?
Well, two things. First, the messenger tells Daniel that his prayer, which began about 3 weeks, he's been mourning and fasting and praying for 21 days, it says. Yeah. He tells Daniel that God heard his prayers immediately, but he has been delayed. It's a really fascinating part. It says this, the messenger says, "The prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed me 21 days, so Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I left him there with the prince of the kingdom of Persia, and have come to help you understand what is to happen." So again, very mysterious, but what is kind of clear here is that things in this world can delay God's plans and purposes. And I don't think that's meant to scare us, because in fact, what this chapter is all about is assurance. Because what we're told is that even though God's plans can be delayed, they cannot be thwarted, right? God is sovereign. He is king. History is not drifting. God is in control. And then the messenger lays out this really kind of grand prophecy. He gives a rundown about different conflicts and kingdoms that will rise and fall over the next few centuries. And it culminates in chapter 12. So we're in chapter 10. You've got chapter 11 and 12, which are really the content of this prophecy. Where in chapter 12, we're told that even though there's going to be all this hardship, in the end, God will deliver his people to restoration and resurrection. It speaks about resurrection.
Wow.
So the restoration of God's people, it's going to be complicated, much more complicated than probably Daniel thought. But God is going to be in control. And history, again, it's not drifting. And even though it's going to look chaotic for the next little bit, God has a plan that will ultimately lead to redemption, restoration, and again, resurrection.
Well, I think that's amazing. And it sounds like there's just so much here in Daniel chapter 10. I mean, you have war between angels or Michael shows up, and then you have this beautiful word of comfort spoken to Daniel about the restoration of God's people. And I think, as you sort of said, the restoration isn't going to happen in a day. It's not going to just all come back together. And, Daniel, like you said, is an old man. And not only is it a word of comfort, that he's beloved and he's reassured and given that promise, but also he's given sort of a vision of things he won't really live to see. Mm-hmm. And the restoration isn't going to be a matter of a few days, but God's plan, for centuries is sort of revealed to Daniel. And so he's sort of given a vision beyond what's right in front of him, which I think is sort of the essence of what it is to be a prophet.
And I do think that's an encouraging word for us, because so often our restoration, our healing, our reconciliation, it takes time.
Yeah.
And Daniel gives us a vision of what it means to sit in that time faithfully, trusting. Yeah.
Well, I hope you all have a great discussion in your groups. It sounds like you've got plenty to talk about, and I look forward to hearing what some of y'all come up with. And good luck to y'all as you have this discussion.